Welcome back to Take 15, everybody. I'm Ash. It's great to have you back. Today we're going to talk about how the film industry has changed as far as the filming equipment alone. There's so many other aspects to this, but today we're just going to dive into the filming equipment. Because, gone are the days where they've got the film cans or drums. You've got your film reels and you have to check the glass lens in between takes. Nowadays, we have so many influencers and individual filmmakers where there's stuff on the go and you can create everything. Padcaster, which was created recently, is something where there's even a teleprompter. You have the lights, green screen, and everything that you would need, sound equipment, all there, and it can just fold up into a backpack. So the question is, how is the quality? I know most of, you hear, oh, I shot it on an iPhone, or many filmographers feel like they have to spend the money on a Red camera or a big Sony digital camera. But you get to the question, how is the quality, honestly? I know Red has recently launched the V-Raptor camera, which is one of the most advanced digital cameras that there is. It has a lot of technology that makes filming so much more advanced and deeper, and they have to. They've got competition when it comes to the individual. They're losing not viability, but a lot of the big camera companies are realizing that anybody now can become a filmmaker based off of their iPhone. And with equipment like the Padcaster or Grip Gear has come up with some things for the individual filmmaker, and there's all these vlogging kits out there that you can find on Amazon. Stuff for low budget filmmaking. They call it low budget filmmaking, but it has the quality of it, and a lot of times the quality of it is fairly decent. You can even just take a camera. It's like a Sony camera or a digital photography camera, basically. And a lot of vloggers, a lot of influencers take those and get really great depth of shots and, wonderful footage to edit. And a lot of it comes down to as well, the editing software. And what does that look like? I know some recent, software that is the PC Mag is out, and a lot of people use the Adobe Premiere and the Cyberlink and Pinnacle. There's so many things out there that, places to get your your videos edited or software to use. And the thing is, I guess it comes down to the quality of it. What are we going to be seeing here in the future? What is the quality that we're going to be seeing? And if the quality is good for half the price, a Padcaster is about $2,000 versus a Red camera, which is over 20 plus grand. It's a huge difference, and it cuts into your budget, especially for independent filmmakers that don't have the millions of dollar budget or even, $500,000. What does this even look like for them? So if you can cut your budget down and still get the same amount of quality, yeah, there might be small differences, but with how much content is being consumed nowadays, and TikTok has launched off, and the quality of photos on that or videos on that is not high at all, but it's become such a huge platform because, it's so real. Same with YouTube. YouTube's the same way. It's been around for years, and it's still one of the highest in gross sales. So what does this look like for the individual filmmaker and for filming companies? Filming companies are going to have to start looking at creating content and creating kits more and more for the filmmakers that want to go a little bit cheaper routes, because now they have options. So the supply and demand has changed. So we're going to start seeing that the filmmakers out there, and the film equipment is going to obviously be changing, especially for the future as we move more towards the individual filmmaker, and as content becomes so large. And also another thing is with how much CGI and special effects is added into most movies now. Many movies are needed to have the green screen, effect. So it's going to definitely differentiate the filmmaking industry. And then as we move towards the meta universe and things like that, what does that mean for the filmmakers? Is it going to eventually separate the filmmakers into the different categories of not just the independent or the low budget, but, the special effects or fantasy versus the real life hardcore films? And it's going to be really interesting to, think about and add that in. But there's so many different really cool assets, and I'm thankful that filming has become available to a lot of the individuals out there. But I do think that the big companies are going to have to get, Sony and some of them are really starting to jump on the ball with the individual filmmaker and creating things for them. And I think the rest of the companies are going to need to keep that in their mindset. Red right now is pretty much has the domination of Hollywood, but eventually as more and more of the population has the ability to be able to have individual filming needs, as the independent filmmakers become more and more, and studios they'll still be studios, but as there's so many more independent filmmakers that are coming up out there, and influencers, low budget filmmakers, that it's a huge opportunity, and they can and should look at this opportunity as something to work for. So, and then a lot of it will come down to the editing, and I think editors are going to become something that's a little bit more widely needed. And because there's a lot of programs out there that are just, unless you use them on a regular basis, it's really hard to understand, the constant makeup of those. But a lot of, two influencers have taught themselves how to use Adobe Premiere Pro and so many other programs just to be able to create their content. But, it's a full-time job. A lot of these guys that are influencers are working way more than, a 9-to-5, and so are filmmakers and stuff, but they're doing it on a regular basis. The editors are going to become needed too, and there's a lot of companies out there now that are becoming influencer editing, where they'll take the influencers' videos and edit them and be able to create content for them, so that their whole day isn't spent editing film that they've been working on, which, they have to turn around and produce a lot, which is, a tough timeline to always be under. So editors, I think, are going to become a little bit more widespread, not just in the Hollywood realm or in the corporate world, but also for the influencer, the, private sector, basically, of the movie film industry. And this is going to be something where, until more software is produced that's more user-friendly, where everybody can kind of, just open up an app on their phone. And that's another thing too, like there's apps now that you can edit software right on your phone, Premiere Rush, Splice, Video Leap, and there's so many more out there where the individual, we'll say private sector filmmakers, basically can just, use an app to create their own films, edit their own films, color their own films, but is it the quality, I think, is what we have to look at, and what's going to divide the different filmmakers in the future? Is it going to be the individuals, the private sector, and then the corporate sector filming for commercials and things like that with more green screen special effects, where they, are able to use their big studios and all the extra special digital editors and things like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see where, it continues to go. But I do believe that companies need to start getting on board with creating a mobile filming unit, like Padcaster and Melvo have done. So there's lots of opportunity here for companies, as this is becoming a huge market now, as influencers and the private sector of filming is, upon us, and streaming needs more content and all that good stuff. What is this going to mean for the future of film, the future of film editing? Lots of really interesting things. But yeah, the private sector versus the corporate sector, I think will eventually be how the filming industry will get broken down. And, there's the companies that will work for corporations, and then there's the individual or the private sector films, and there'll have to be ways for them to be able to get things on streaming platforms such as Netflix and Hulu, Peacock, and Crackle, and all that stuff a little bit easier, where they won't need just a distribution center, they'll need a lawyer or anything like that. There's going to be ways eventually where they can submit their own film, TV series, and things like that to Netflix, and have it basically rated and checked and stuff through their systems. Anyways, guys, exciting things happening with the future of the filming industry. I'm Ash, and thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.